Welcome to the Morrison Report. Hosted by Deval Morrison, sales representative for Bosley Real Estate Limited Brokerage. Ms. Morrison has co-authored the best-selling book, Success Today, with Brian Tracy, and has been interviewed on NBC, ABC, and CBS affiliates by Bob Guinea from The Bachelor. Deval, a real estate investor, has spoken to many attendees at her real estate seminars and is currently ranked in the top 5% of agents in her brokerage. Join me in welcoming your host, Deval Morrison.
Welcome to the Morrison Report. I wanted to create a podcast that would give people insights into the Toronto real estate market. You can follow me on Twitter at Deval Morrison and on Instagram as Deval Morrison, and you can like my business page on Facebook. Thanks so much for joining us on today's episode. Today we have with us Chris Kiely. He's an associate broker with Breckles Insurance. Chris, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi, Deval. Thank you for having me today. Gladly. So my function here, my role is general insurance, otherwise known as property and casualty insurance, P&C. And within that, there is personal insurance and commercial insurance. So the personal side encompassing anything an individual might have, be it home, automobile, rental properties, cottage insurance and whatnot. On the commercial end, it really encompasses anything, any business essentially. So professional liability and contents and casualty insurance.
Awesome. That sounds great. Can you tell our listeners, why do you think it's important for people to have insurance?
Well, it's really an issue of, I guess, on the commercial end of things, risk management. So insurance is a function to finance your business, to safeguard against loss mitigation. And on the personal insurance, it really kind of goes hand in hand, more so for your insuring your home, which you're obligated to have if you have a mortgage on it. The bank will require that, as well as your personal contents, your liability as well, slip and fall, whatever might be an example on the personal insurance. So your liability insurance sold as your home, as a package with your home, will protect you in the event of such a case.
Sounds like it makes a lot of good sense. Do you think that renters need insurance?
It's actually a very good value add. Many landlords will require it, and what the landlord is concerned about is the liability component. Mm-hmm. So if you cause a flood, if you cause a fire, you're negligent, your landlord's insurance company would pay for that, but in turn their insurer would come to the renter to subrogate the funds. They would look to be compensated for their costs. So the renter's insurance is quite, or otherwise as we refer to it as tenant's insurance, quite inexpensive, and it's really based on the amount of contents that you want to insure. And it's sold as a package, so you would have your personal contents coverage. You specify that limit, and then it will also include typically $1 or $2 million of liability coverage. And another good feature of it is additional expense coverage. So if there's a flood, if there's damage to the unit, the tenant will have coverage to make alternative living accommodations. That's something that they can claim from their tenant insurance. And conversely, as the landlord, right, if you have such a situation, you can have the rental income covered. So if you have a mortgage on the rental property, you can continue to make those payments even while your place is being restored and your tenant is not living there, and you're not receiving the rental income. Again, you can look towards your insurance for that.
Got it. So if a fire happens in a rental place, the landlord's insurance is going to sort of cover fixing the place up, but it wouldn't cover the tenant's belongings, and so that's why the tenant needs to have their own insurance to cover those things, correct?
Precisely, Deval. That's exactly how it works. So much like the automobile insurance, which right, is legislated by the province, on the property and casualty side, anyone that has an interest in their property, so whether a home or a car, whatnot, if I own something and it's damaged or there's a claim against it, I have to report it to my own insurance company. I deal with my own insurance company to get reimbursed, and if it was the fault of somebody else, it's upon your insurer to subrogate the funds through courts or whatnot, or through their insurance company if that other party was liable.
Got it.
was negligent.
Got it. That makes sense. So, and is also, when it comes to insurance, is there a difference between insurance for a condo versus insurance for a house?
Certainly. So your condominium would have bylaws through the condominium corporation, and then that will detail what's covered, what's not. So it can differ slightly, but generally speaking, the condominium owner, the unit owner, is looking to insure, much like the renter's insurance, they want to base it on their amount of contents insurance. But what comes along with the condo insurance when you own it, as opposed to the tenant, is improvement and betterment. So if you've upgraded cabinetry, flooring, lighting, window coverings, or whatnot, those are things that are not covered within the condo corporation and would fall within the scope of the condominium unit owner's insurance.
Got it. So, for example, we've got a mutual friend where there was a fire in their particular unit. So, if there's a fire in a particular condo unit, I guess sort of the question is, what portion is covered by that condo's insurance company? That person's condo insurance, and what portion would be covered by the actual condo building's insurance company? Because there's a difference there, right?
That's a very good question, Deval. It's and each condominium unit, each condominium corporation, their bylaws will specify that. So in the event of a claim, when you're reporting the claim as the unit owner, as a condo owner, the adjuster would want a copy of the bylaws. So they would work with the condominium corporation to work that out. Generally speaking, the unit owner is going to be responsible, people say, from the drywall in. So paint on the walls, again, your furniture, your fixtures, your built-ins, whatever they may consist of. Those are the sort of things that are going to fall within the scope of the unit owner's personal insurance. The condominium corporation will look after any other issues, such as damage to the structure of the building, damage to the common elements, if it's spread to the hallway or whatnot.
Right.
Smoke damage, quite often not the fire itself, but the smoke is difficult to get out of upholstery, and as a condominium corporation, I guess the flooring and whatnot.
Got it. So does it make sense for a unit owner to have the exact same insurance company as what their condo corporation uses? Does that make a difference?
That's a good question, Deval. It can streamline things as far as adjusting and settlement of the claim, but really it's a consumer's choice, and that's really the bottom line. The consumer needs to decide what insurance package is best for them,
right,
and their broker should be able to provide some direction on that.
Okay, that sounds good. And in terms of house insurance for a homeowner, can you tell us a little bit about what that means and why it's important for a homeowner to have insurance on their belongings in their house?
Yeah, certainly, Deval. Again, as I mentioned, if you have a mortgage on your home and you have financing on your home, the financial institution holding the mortgage will require that the home is insured. And so in the event of a catastrophic loss or a major loss, if the home is burnt to the ground or what have you, then the bank is protected. So the insurance company will pay out the mortgage, and any difference would go to the homeowner as a worst case scenario.
Got
Alternatively, they can rebuild, and again, the bank is protected in that situation.
Awesome. Most insurance companies seem to give homeowners about 30 days or so to remove knob and tube wiring. And, when I'm out about showing houses, a lot of the older homes in Toronto have this kind of wiring. And so, why do some insurance companies feel that the knob and tube is such a high risk?
Yeah, that's a good question, Deval. There is a physical hazard with knob and tube, and it's susceptible to electrical fires. So generally speaking, if you're looking at purchasing a home commercially, they're not as stringent on the knob and tube. Having said that, they may offer reduced coverage, or certainly may well be paying higher insurance premiums for a building or a home or a structure that has knob and tube wiring. As a homeowner, certainly you will pay more, and they will offer named perils coverage as opposed to the more comprehensive coverage that is available. That is kind of through a secondary market, and the main insurers where you ideally want to be insured with for better coverage, better pricing, they will typically give you 30 days to have it replaced. So if you're acquiring a property and you're moving in, obviously it's going to take some time to do renovations and whatnot. So they typically would require that it's replaced. Or in some cases, if it's aluminum wiring, there can be a few issues with the electrical.
Right.
Sometimes just an electrical safety certificate may suffice.
Are there any other risks that people should be aware of when it comes to getting insurance and housing?
Well, sometimes a row housing can be a little more difficult. It's not doesn't really pose an issue, but it is a little more limiting as far as consumers' choice. There are some insurers out there who shy away from row houses,
right?
But really, it's fairly straightforward. But most of the home insurance policies out there are sold as a package that's going to include your liability and coverage for your contents and whatnot. And everything is determined on the replacement value of the home.
Right.
So when you're speaking with your insurance broker and they offer you the pricing and they give you the limits of insurance, the limit of insurance is strictly relating to rebuilding costs. So it's not anything to do with land value or market value, but specific to the rebuilding costs.
Got it. Are there other sort of negative things that, I don't know if negative is the right word, that make an insurance policy cost more? You had mentioned row housing. Is there anything else that people are buying that, when they're sort of saying that to the insurance company is sort of going, okay, we've got to make this policy slightly more expensive because of whatever it is? Are there other things like that?
Yes, so each company has their discount structure. So generally speaking, on a newer home, the companies will offer you discounts on that, mortgage-free, multi-policy, claims-free if you have an insurance track record, not having any property insurance claims. Those are some of the discounts that are kind of go into the pricing. Sometimes the older homes can be surcharged. Sewer backup is a big issue these days.
Right.
And just depending, it may not necessarily be something that the property owner or the purchaser would know, but there are certain postal codes that certain areas that are mapped by postal code that are more susceptible to sewer backup. So the insurance companies, in turn, they're pretty sophisticated with their resources on that. They'll know if it's older infrastructure coming from the sewage line from the street, and if it's a low-lying area, if it's an area or a property that may be susceptible to sewer backup. In that case, some companies will not offer the coverage. It's been a newer trend in the industry, or they may offer a higher coverage with a higher deductible, or they may limit the amount of coverage. And as another point, the rate for the cost, or I guess what we would say is the risk exposure for the insurer. So if you're in an area that's prone to sewer backup, you'll see that reflected in your insurance premiums.
Interesting. Is that a list I can get my hands on in terms of which postal codes are the ones? I'm curious.
Yeah, again, the sewer backup has been. It used to be fire was costing the insurance companies most of it, but now water is far and above the biggest issue in property insurance.
Right.
And again, it's really a case-by-case basis. So we have software, we input the postal code, and we get quotations accordingly. So the risk exposure is kind of built into the underwriting of the insurance company.
Got it. Damn, I was hoping I could get a list of, sort of trickier postal codes to avoid. Anyways, that's good to know. Can you tell us a little bit about Kitech Plumbing? And for those who don't know, Kitech Plumbing it's a kind of plumbing where there is a class action lawsuit in a number of the condo buildings. It started in the U.S., and it's basically because the plumbing they've decided is faulty and at some point will leak. And so there's a number of condo buildings recently in Toronto that have been found to have Kitech Plumbing, and so the condo corporations have had to either put special assessments on people, on unit owners, to remove this kind of plumbing from the building. So the question really is that do you have insurance companies that are willing to work with people who are buying condos in buildings where it's been identified that they have Kitech Plumbing?
Very good question again, Devel. So yeah, we're aware of the Kitech Plumbing. It is an issue. My understanding is that over time it is prone to deterioration and can virtually disintegrate in some instances. The insurers will cover the resulting damage. Generally speaking, it's a question for your broker, of course. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, the insurer will pay for the resulting damage, for the water damage that's caused to your property. The cost to actually repair and fix the damaged piping is something that falls outside of the scope of your insurance. So it's incumbent upon the property owner to mitigate their loss and replace the plumbing.
Interesting. And then can you tell us a little bit